welcome. Thank you for your note, too.
I stay in Staten Island.
Oh.
And I used to go skiing.
How are you?
Very good. Very, very old. So now I'm down here picking up the pieces. And we'll see. I work the poles. What is your first name? Marie. I work the poles. That's like
It's weird that it would be so hard to find.
See, normally,
same faces.
normally you've got something on middle button. Normally you have something like this where you just turn around and turn off. You have to get out of the way. That's not on there.
Amy, I got you right here.
Just press here. Turn around, look at it while you're doing it. That sounds white.
How are you, Mrs. Deer?
Hey there, McKay.
Say hi to your closest fans in the second It is. It's cold in here. Very cold. That was a nice picture of you, like the observer. That was a very nice picture. I must tell you. But some of them, you know, So what do I have?
I don't know what the color is.
You know what? At the store,
Yeah, I don't know what night
And in the ER, she said it was this morning. It's kind of hard with this junky bag.
The only lot I have
oh, you're pretty set. I'm thinking of the one right there. I don't want to see it. I'll have to go I'll get there to when I miss Tell me again, you're Democratic. Yeah, see what Monday So Monday, 6:15. What entry do I go in?
that it's on power line, so I can be there by 10.
Power line, all right, maybe I should go. Down power line, yeah, okay, 6:15, here is power line. Oh.
As soon as you pass the gate, you make a left and another way. It's about 4 blocks away.
Oh, the God. All right, I'm gonna try to make it.
All right, thank you. See, I joined you.
No, that's taken for their family. Okay, good to see. Lower the boom.
I didn't know, I just found that from you.
Well, come on, she can buy you and nothing's happening. Alright, I turned over sound.
Yeah, that'll do it. But yeah, don't forget where it was to put it back on again.
Settings.
Doesn't like she's known forever.
Yeah, right? Hi, Diane. I couldn't say because their whole, no, their whole, the mayor's family is coming. I'm sorry. Hi, Mary. I'll sit over here. Okay.
Yeah, thanks. And I'm not on drugs either.
Is it a quarter of, check the clock.
Yeah, it is. It looked at it. It looked right there.
It is, okay. This is a regular city commission meeting called for this evening, February the 7th at 6:45. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Commissioner Battle. Here. Commissioner Gantz.
Here.
Commissioner Miller. Here. Vice Mayor Rosenzweig.
Here.
Mayor Robb.
Here. Would you all, before you all stand for a moment of silence, okay, since it seems as though my whole family is here tonight. So I'd like to introduce you to Leo Robb, Michael Robb, Barbara Jean Robb, Teresa Glennon, and Patrick Glennon. They're both in from Colorado, okay? I don't know what the hell they're doing here. Watch that language, lady. That's right. Would you all stand? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which I stand, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I need a motion to approve the city commission minutes of January the 17th.
Motion.
Second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve the city commission meeting minutes of January the 17th. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I need the acknowledgement of the city board members of code compliance, community appearance, community redevelopment, and the Marine Advisory Board. All those, I need a motion.
I need a motion to acknowledge all those boards you just mentioned, or minutes.
And a second. I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
I need a motion to approve the city commission agenda for this evening
With the inclusion of 4A on the consent agenda.
with the, yes.
Motion
the
to approve
inclusion
the
of
agenda
4A.
for tonight, including 4A
4A.
on the consent agenda.
You have a, who said that?
I did.
Second? I have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
The next item on the agenda is the audience to be heard. Okay? I'm opening the public hearing. Those of you who wish to be heard, please stand, give me your name and address, and let's hear what you have to say.
Bernie Parnes, 3074 Harwood F., Deerfield Beach.
Did I turn over?
Many people come up here to speak, and I think it's imperative that civility come back
Oh, wait
to
a
the
minute,
commission.
just 1 minute. Don't start timing him. I wanted Andy to make a statement tonight. You know, we usually hear people attack other people, okay? Andrew, what is the procedure, or what is the criteria for what you can say and what you can't say, okay? Talk to, hold on, Bernie.
Sure.
The rules prohibit a personal attacks in the nature of attacks on persons' personal qualities, their family life, their family, and things of that sort. Things that would offend the ordinary sensibilities of most people. So the idea is to keep it to issues, to city issues and things of that sort, and not attack the personal qualities of individuals.
Okay. Okay, Bernie, I just wanted
Thank
to
you.
clarify that before we started attacking me, okay? Now you may talk. Go ahead.
I don't intend to attack anybody, but I think it's imperative that we bring civility back to the commission. At the last meeting after I had left, a remark was made that I must be bored, that's why I left. Not true. I come to the city commission meetings to hear the business of the city, not remarks, not private conversations, but the actual business of the city. And when that's done, you can either hang around and listen, or you can leave. It doesn't mean one is bored, and this is what I mean by civility. Every citizen has a right to come up here and vent. It's the city commission's job to listen to the residents, to listen to your constituents. You don't have to agree with them, but you don't have to insult them either. It's their right to speak, and I'd like to see that restored to the commission. Thank you.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to be heard at this time? Your name and address, please. for the-
Marjorie Reynolds, 299 Farnham in Deerfield. I have a question about the sanctuary cities. I was looking on the websites and I noticed that the county of Broward County is listed as a sanctuary city. I called Richard Rosenzweig, who is my council member, and I asked him if he knew anything about it. He called me back. He had checked with the city attorney and said they are not a sanctuary county, and so referred me to a January 27th NBC website, which had Barbara Sharif, the mayor of Broward County, saying that they already comply with all existing immigration laws. The same day, the Sun Sentinel published Trump crackdown on sanctuary counties spurs policy change in Miami-Dade. Broward and Palm Beach are staying the course. So that was so it's two different answers. So then I went to ICE. And for the period of January 1st, 2014 to September 30th, 2015, which is the latest I could find, there were total declined detainees from ICE from the county sheriff's office division, 101. Prior criminal declined detainers, so those people that had been detained, 87 of them had prior criminal convictions. So that's like 86% of whoever Sheriff Israel released. Now, I understand that I don't know what the answer is. I understand that when I looked at Sheriff Israel's office, he said that they have nothing to prevent them from working with immigration. His spokesman did not say that they did work with immigration, however. We have a contract with the county. What can we do?
What do you want us to do?
I'd like to find out a true answer. Do they comply with ICE? Do we have more recent figures?
We'll ask the BSO to give us an answer, okay?
You could have them give a report. I would not ask them to, I
No.
think right now.
We'll get a report and leave we have your name and your address.
Yes.
So we'll send you whatever we get, okay?
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to be heard? I would be disappointed.
I thought you would. Katie Freitag, 418 Southeast 2nd Street. One of the interesting things that has kind of blown up in our recent United States government is alternative facts. We're hearing constantly about alternative facts. If you ask me who won the Super Bowl on Sunday night, I will tell you the Atlanta Falcons won the Super Bowl. Because when I stopped watching the game at halftime, the Atlanta Falcons were winning the Super Bowl. So if you ask me, it was Atlanta Falcons. Now, some people could say, well, that's actually an alternative fact. It's not exactly the truth, but it's actually not a lie, because when I quit watching, they were winning. There's a lot of stuff going around, letters from the mayor to all the residents in Deerfield Beach, with all kinds of different facts, alternative or otherwise, regarding Commissioner Gantz. And what I want to remind everybody is meet every one of the people that are running for mayor. Thursday night is a great night to meet all the mayoral candidates. Ask them questions. Ask them what their plans are for the city moving forward. Make sure that everybody comes out and meets all the commissioners, and do not just assume because we got a letter from the mayor, who's been the mayor for a number of years, that she knows what's best for this city.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to be heard? Yes, ma'am. No, we're here. Okay, come on, you're up here. Your name and address for the record.
Christina Fink, 739 42nd Northwest Place. In the letter that was just commented on, did my tax dollars pay for that
No,
postage?
it did not.
Okay. And, okay, that's it.
It cost me $3,511, and I paid for it.
I'm Peggy Ross, 103 Northeast 19th Avenue, Deerfield Beach. This has to do with the Hillsborough, the bridge over the intercoastal. The bicycle riders, I don't know if anyone is aware, I did take pictures this morning. There's two different signs. One tells you to walk your bicycles over on the sidewalk, and the other one tells you to ride your bicycles on the bike path. And I was pretty much almost run over by 5 bicyclists riding on the sidewalk. I had to jump into the traffic lane to get out of their way. I don't think any sign is really going to solve the problem, but it is confusing to have 2 different sets of directions as to what you're supposed to do with your bicycles as you're going over the bridge. I didn't know if people were aware you had two different signs with different directions.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to be heard? Your name and address for the record. Please don't yell.
James Benefield, 533 Northwest 3rd Way, Deerfield Beach, Florida. This day and time, we're going back to the 50s and the 60s, maybe the 40s. What I'm talking about, this removal of our voting precinct in predominantly black neighborhood. 1 month before the election, somebody or somebodies decide to move it from the Pines to the focal point. It might not be that far, but you got a lot of old people there, wheelchair people. How they gonna get there? Is the city gonna perform bus them over there and back? And why couldn't this wait till after the election? Why? You know, this is supposed to be Black History Month. Some people are trying to show us that they still don't give a darn about black history or what black people go for. I'm going to show you, I'm going to change your precinct. What are you going to do about it? Why are they changing it? They want to disrupt the people. You know, everybody been going to the pond for years. Now all of a sudden, they got to go somewhere else. Some people don't have transportation. You know, I've endured racism for 70 years here in Deerfield. And it's rising right now. And it's strong, very strong. What would facilitate or make people want to change that voting place 30 days before the election? Nobody can answer that. Nobody won't answer that. I know that St. Ambrose, they did it over there, but they said that the Archdiocese did that. Did the NAACP call somebody and tell them to change ours?
I have no idea.
Nobody has an idea, but somebody had an idea.
I'm going to ask the city clerk. Let me say this. You just mentioned St. Ambrose, and St. Ambrose is no longer a voting precinct, but it was because the Archdiocese of Miami decided that none of the churches would be utilized for voting now. So that's why it was changed from St. Ambrose, okay?
Well, that's good, but with us,
But
go ahead, I'm sorry.
No, I was going to say, I think the city clerk sent letters out telling everybody about the change. But why did they change the Palms? I know that that was a very heavy precinct. Why did they change that one? I'll ask the city clerk.
It was an administrative decision.
By whom?
It was an administrative decision
By
to
whom?
change it.
Huh?
It was an administrative decision to change it so that voters would not be disenfranchised due to previous elections and things that had occurred.
Put something back on there, call them in. But if it's going to disfranchise the people. They're going now all these many years, and all of a sudden you got to change. It's a way of messing up the election, to sway the election. Now, anybody who got ears and eyes can see that.
Okay.
You know, something's going on wrong here. We got to straighten it out. Because you know what? You're asking for violence. People, we're like rabbits. We cannot be pushed so far. We're going to fight back.
Thank you, Jimbo.
Hi, my name is Richard Vezina. I'm at 1014 Southeast 12th Avenue. Can I approach the bench and pass a couple of those so you can see pictures of what I'm talking about?
Sure.
Is that okay?
Just give them, yeah. We don't start timing you until you start talking, okay? Oh, this is that. Oh.
The reason why I'm here is because we...
Did we get your name and address? I'm sorry.
Yes,
did,
we
didn't we?
did.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
It is a simple code violation, but me and my wife feel targeted by the city right now at this point because of edges in front of our houses. And they were planted in 2000, and we've been taking care of them for 16 or 17 years at a cost of over $20,000. And we've been asked to cut them down to 4 feet. I have no problem with it. The only reason why I'm here is why 16 or 17 years later, now the code is enforced. And we have a heck of a reason why we grow them that big and we planted new mango trees is because at 3.5 years old, my wife was hit by a car. She survived and shortly was diagnosed with a condition that make her fear of loud noises. It's called phonophobia or something like that. And I'm asking you to allow us to keep our edges to 6 or 7 feet so we can lower the noise. A speed table was installed like a few months ago last year. What makes it worse in a sense, it might slow people down, but you know, the racket that it does with the landscaping trailers, with the tools and the delivery trucks, not counting that the traffic light at the corner of 10th and 12th is the last traffic light in the cove, and it should be removed. But that's a county issue there. We experienced in 2005 after Wilma, the traffic light went down, and we were months with a 4-stop sign, and it was so quiet compared to what it is now. Right now it is an avenue called a boulevard. And because of that medical reason, I'm begging you to let us keep the height of our edges to lower the noise by 60 to 70%. If not, we're going to be forced to sell the house. It's not what we planned.
I have a question. Eric, where are you? Where'd he go? Oh, hi there.
This is presently before the special master. So
Is this before the special master? I have a question, though. I thought we could, you can have a fence that's 6 feet high. Why can't you have a hedge that's 6 feet high? I thought you could. Pardon?
It's in the front,
house.
yeah.
That's the reason why, at least according to the pictures, I believe the rule is you can't have them that
Yeah,
high.
the last 2 pictures are the pictures of our residents. The other pictures are pictures that I didn't put the address on because they were in the Cove subdivision, and it doesn't seem that the code is enforced on these people. And we keep getting letters, and we just feel targeted for some reason. There's countless other residents that have more than 4-foot edges or trees blocking their front door. You can't even see the front door, but it's not the case on our property. And
I have the city attorney.
Well, no,
have
here's
to
what I
agree.
would recommend is that
Okay.
certainly the failure to enforce it equally, I think is being noted by Eric, and you can deal with the code people. This is a case presently before the code, the special master, which I recommend that it's not appropriate to comment on. So I think it's certainly appropriate to investigate this, whether it's being equally enforced, and Eric is shaking his head that it will be done, which it should be.
Well, I have a question. Shouldn't he be able to bring a medical response at the hearing?
Well, that's for him to, yeah, he has a.
Do it.
He can, but that's something.
Okay.
That's something.
Don't ask
Well,
Dr. Rob
she
to
was
do it for you.
diagnosed 50.
I think what you should do, sir,
Mhm.
is, and it's even though it's a code enforcement process, it's fairly informal. It's not.
I understand.
So bring everything that you think is relevant to the special master, to that hearing.
Okay.
Make all your points. If you have any documents and things of that sort, please bring them so that he gets all that information.
I understand.
He's the one who'll make that decision.
Okay, and now I've been given 30 days. It's probably 15 days left now before I get into $500 a day violation. What
So
should
has it already
I?
been, Eric, is there a violation?
No.
Eric is shaking his head. I don't know.
No, it's 30 days for him to come back to magistrate to determine if he should go to special master.
So the special master hasn't adjudicated him in
No.
violation yet?
No.
All right, so you're going to have a hearing where you bring all that. That's an important hearing for you.
Okay, you mean the same meeting I had 15 days ago or something like that, in front of the magistrate?
Whenever that is scheduled.
Okay, for the code violation meeting.
Okay.
All right, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it.
Vice Mayor, did you want to say something? Your light was on briefly. No? No? Okay. Yes.
Yes, finally made it. Amy K. Tanner, 111 Southeast Fifth Avenue, Otis Tanner Way, Deerfield Beach. We're facing an upcoming event. That's a big event. Used to be the biggest event in town. The celebration of the end of the harvest season. And that used to be in like April, because that was then, but time has passed and it's not now. But I've gone to a lot of them, and I really hope that the papers encourage people to come out, and it's different, but different is good sometimes. We're going to exhibit, the Historical Society is going to exhibit, and we're going to show some old pictures, and we're going to have some old people there to tell you about what it was like. Well, hey, I was looking through your phone number today. And I encourage all the people that have been here a long time to come and share our memories, because it's changing, but our memories are pretty good. I think mine is. And so I ask to encourage people to come out to our event, which has been called by many names. And did you know that the Broward County Historical Commission used to have an event called Pioneer Days, and it was held at different locations. We had it 2 or 3 times here in Deerfield, and it was very nice. But please come. Please get the word out. Y'all encourage people. Papers encourage people.
Amy, where is it and when is it?
It's the Deerfield Beach Pioneer Days. There's a parade from 6th Avenue to the beach, and the events are at the beach, and there's dancing and music and everything, all the things, and you don't have to pay for it. Sort of, you don't have to pay for it. You have to pay for it, but so you might as well go listen to
So
it.
it used to be Founder's Day and Cracker Day, all the same thing. you're talking
Yes,
about,
it
right?
used to be
Okay,
Cracker Day,
let's say-
named after the people that
It was the end of the farming season.
yeah,
It was Cracker Day.
It was a celebration of the end
Yeah.
of the farming season, and there's a lot of wonderful memories. So y'all come.
Thank you. Your name, please?
Regina Nina, 159 Southwest 5th Street, Deerfield Beach.
Velmina Williams, 158 Southwest 5th Street.
Okay.
The last time you had a meeting, I came here and I was telling you about this house. Give them the address. The house next door to you.
It's 158. 158, I
No,
think.
158 is mine. It's the
Okay,
next
so
one.
that's, it's the next
And-
one next to 159.
which
Yes.
is mine.
Next, it wouldn't be if one's an odd number, they'd both be odd number, if it was next door, so.
Well, it's next door to her. And I was telling you, I don't know who owned the house, but it's a mess. It have all kind of rats, and she can tell you all the stuff that's smelling all around her house and whatever.
Yeah, it's a lot of, the smell is really bad. Today I found like a picture. Took a picture with my cell phone. Like I don't have no animals in my house. So, and I found some poop under on my sidewalk. So I mean, I don't know what you guys can do about it because this is getting really bad.
Just go to code enforcement.
The house next to my house, which is mine is 159, so the next one next to mine.
He wants to talk about that.
Yeah.
Sorry, what's your address again?
Mine is 159 Southwest.
Southwest?
Yes, so.
Fifth Street.
5th Street.
5th Street, 159 Southwest 5th Street. Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I've seen the code people passing, but I've never seen them stop. The problem is certain things the code enforcement enforce, and certain things they don't. This is a hazard to our family. I found a rat in my house, and I don't like that, and I've never had a rat in my house. And I need the city to do something about it now. I don't want you to wait later until I have to move out of my house. You know, y'all do things for certain people in certain time and whatever, but this, I have grandchildren coming to my house, and they don't even want to come to my house because they're afraid that they're gonna see a rat or something. And she have 2 young daughters too.
Yes, I
and
do
it's
have 2
not
kids.
and it's not safe and it's not healthy. And I need you all to do something about it.
We really appreciate your help, please. Thank you.
Is the house abandoned?
No, the people live there, and I don't know who the people who own it.
Well, Eric, it would be great if you would respond to them and to Commissioner Battle so that she knows that you've taken care of it, okay? Thank you. Yes, ma'am. Your name and address for the record.
Marie Etlinger, 750 Southeast 6th Avenue. I want to make an announcement about the lasagna dinner that the Women's Club is having as part of the Pioneer Days. It's on Wednesday, February 15th at the Women's Club on Hillsborough. And it's from 6 to 8, and it's a $25 donation.
Did you say lasagna?
Lasagna dinner.
My favorite Italian food, thank you.
Oh, to the building, it's going to be used for the building fund.
Okay. It's $25 donation. Would you repeat that date, please?
February 15th. February 15th.
February 15th. The 15th. Okay, I have a PET scan that day. Who else wants to speak? Oh, Dan. Your name and address for the record, Dan Hertz.
Hello, yes, you are correct. My name is Dan Hertz, 330 Southeast 19th Avenue. At the last City Commission meeting, there was a vote taken to renew an $805,000 landscaping contract between the city and Complete Property Services of South Florida, Inc. There was over 15 minutes of discussion about this contract, and every commissioner had issues with the performance of this vendor over the initial 3-year term of this contract. However, if you read the memo written by the director of the Parks and Recreation Department, you hear quite a different story. The memo dated December 29, 2016 to Burgess Hanson reads as follows. The recommended contractor has been performing the services for the city over the past 3 years and has provided exceptional service and proven to be very cooperative. The areas they maintain continue to show improvement. Now, I wonder, how could the Parks and Recreation Director have such a differing opinion from the 4 commissioners? However, at issue here is a much bigger problem. How do you have a contract for $805,000 and that is not put out to bid before it renews? I'm the treasurer of a 327-home homeowners association, and we put everything out for bid at least every 2 years. That is the only way to know whether your vendors are cost-effective or not. Why is a simple business practice not being followed by our city manager? This is far from the first time this has happened. I remember an insurance vendor, I think it was for the property and casualty coverage, whose annual insurance quote had not been put out to bid for over 5 years. When it finally was put out for bid, the city saved a considerable amount of money with a different insurer. This is what happens when you have a city manager who is allowed to do whatever he wants. The city commissioners are supposed to oversee the city manager and make sure he follows sound business practices. Unfortunately, that does not happen in Deerfield Beach with the present commissioners. Fortunately, we the citizens have a way to correct this problem. There are actually 2 businessmen running for office in the March 14th election, Joe Hines in District 4 and Ken Wayne for mayor. If we don't elect these 2 gentlemen for office, and we the citizens and taxpayers will be stuck for another 4 years with a commission that lets the city manager do whatever he feels like, almost always to the detriment of the citizens of Deerfield Beach.
Thank you. Is there somebody else who wishes to speak at this time? All right. I'm closing the public hearing. The public hearing is now closed, okay? So that's it. I'm up to public hearing, second reading. Read it.
Yes, an ordinance of the City Commission, Deerfield Beach, changing references from purchasing director to purchasing agent throughout the procurement code, amending sections regarding federally granted funding procurements, authorizing the city manager to take actions necessary to implement the award of any solicitations and the renewal and or rejection of solicitations, amending section 3828, providing that the city's local business preference program shall not apply to solicitations using federal funding sources, amending section 38133, providing that in federal or state declared emergency, the city shall attempt to comply with federal grant procurement regulations, amending section 38135, providing that contractors are subject to federal debarment and suspension regulations for contracts utilizing federal funds, amending section 38141, providing that any contract entity who is involved with developing or drafting the specification requirements shall be excluded from competing for such procurements, and amending section 38142, providing that all contracting entities shall take all necessary affirmative steps to assure that minority businesses and women's businesses, enterprises, and labor surplus area firms are used when possible for contracts using federal funding sources. With this ordinance, it's an amendment to the procurement code in large part aimed at complying with new FEMA regulations that are necessary should the city wish reimbursement from FEMA. So these are imposed by the federal government, and now they are being formally included. We had to comply with them anyway, but we're formally including them in our procurement code.
Whatever he said. The public hearing is now open. Is there anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard? If not, I'm closing the public hearing. I need
make a motion to approve.
Second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second to approve public hearing 2017-034. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay.
Next is ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Deerfield Beach, amending section 6676 to include the Sullivan Park parking area, amending section 6677 to include pay station parking fees for Sullivan parking lot for $1 per hour, and to include docking fees for boat slips at the Sullivan Park dock of $5 per hour, 4-hour maximum.
I have a question. The public hearing is now open on this particular item. I have a question. Isn't this the same as item number 4 on the consent agenda?
No, it's different.
Different? Okay, go ahead.
This was brought up at the last meeting that we didn't feel that we should be, the public doesn't feel that we should meter Sullivan Park because we didn't meter the cove. People will park at the cove and walk over to the park and not pay for the meters anyhow. So what this is, we were asking is that the council please strike this and not vote for it, remove it from the agenda so that the second portion, which is coming up, will actually be approved. This is just making sure that there is not going to be any metered pay parking in the Sullivan Park area.
And what this is, and it's a point well taken, is you see the suggested action here as a result of the commission's last meeting is to strike this ordinance, and the ordinance, which is number 4, is
the consent agenda.
Is a consent agenda. It's a new first
is the
reading.
revised.
that is revised. So now, obviously, you take whatever action you wish, but based upon the last meeting at the commission, the appropriate action here, obviously after the public gets a chance to be heard, because this was already advertised, is to basically strike or to deny this ordinance. Then on the consent agenda, you would approve the first reading of the revised ordinance
Okay.
per your direction.
Got that?
Yeah, and if anybody needs, we came to a really good idea last time that we do not necessarily need the meters to be pay meters, but we do like the fact that they would be limiting people to 4-hour free parking. And after that point, then they would, I guess, get a ticket or what have you at that point.
Anybody else wish to be heard? Yes, ma'am. Your name and address for the record.
Yes, Leanne Kenny, 532 Northeast 8th Avenue. I was I knew you guys were going to be talking about this a little bit tonight, but what I wanted to find out is, are you giving any of the citizens a break on any of the parking, not parking of the facilities itself for parking, but also for some of the boat slips? Or are we going to have to pay the same as all the tourists and everybody else?
Thank you. Anybody else wish to be heard? If not, I'm closing the public hearing. Public hearing is now closed. I need a motion to do whatever.
The recommended based upon your last action, but you take whatever you want, would be a motion to deny.
Whose recommendation? That was what you think the commission's
Well,
recommendation was?
Maybe I'm wrong, Commissioner. That's staff's impression. That's why it's done the way it is. But you can adopt it.
And this other one says for four hours free? And if we adopt that, that's the first reading for that?
No, that's the other thing.
Yeah.
I'm
It's almost
pulling,
like
I'm
if we
pulling that for
knock this
discussion.
down, then we approve that. I'm
Well,
not happy
we can
with 4
discuss
hours
the
free
consent
whatsoever.
agenda. Pardon?
I'm not happy at all with the consent agenda situation.
I'm not either.
I'm not, am I the only one that thought that we originally wanted to get a minimum of 1 hour, $1 per hour to help maintain the park? And if we don't do that, we're gonna be filled up with employees from the beach that'll walk over there, free parking, and it'll prevent park goers from going, because it'll filled up, and it's even more convenient than the Cove parking lot for walking over there as an employee of JB's, Ocean's, or any other restaurant. It's got the beautiful stairs, it's faster to get over there, and if we have no meters there, you're gonna hurt the people with children that wanna go to the park.
Okay.
That's my thinking.
Okay, so you
But
What's your motion?
but that was my feeling last time we met, so maybe I'm a minority, so maybe I could hear your thinking.
hold on, there's all these lights on, and I don't know who did what first. So city manager, do you want to speak to this
Yes.
first?
Thank you, Mayor Rob. Good evening. To answer your question, Commissioner Miller, what the consent item number 4 is saying is that we will put the meters in, but it will be free, but we will only allow a maximum of 4 hours parking at Sullivan Park. And the goal by doing that was to prevent what you were talking about with the
Employees.
beachgoers and then the employees, not only for there, but also for the Cove as well, where restaurateurs or others may have their employees parked there. So that's why we put the, that's why
May I
it was
just respond to
recommended.
that, just since he's talking?
Yes.
Not to butt in on everybody else. We have many spots in the Cove for 2 hour restricted, 2 hour maximum, so we have turnover at the doctor's offices and the retail outlets and restaurants and such. So to go 4 over there and 2 over here, if there was gonna be any giving of some time, I would go more for the 2 hour than the 4 hour, but that's, because whatever we do over there is gonna affect Cove, and they're linked perfectly underneath the bridge now that we've improved that area.
The consent agenda item, if you wish, can be
Changed.
to 2.
Yes. All right.
I'd like to throw it out. At any rate, that's it. What are we doing with this particular
Could we?
item?
All right.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I'm not finished yet.
No.
Vice Mayor, no? Yes? What?
No, I'm backing off.
Okay, Commissioner Gaines.
So just so I can understand what you're saying is, the 2 hours limit that we have over there in the Cove, isn't that only for the spots that are directly in front of the businesses?
Yeah, it's immediately, and the ones right out from them, and sometimes it's even in the row, it might be the row after by the medical. It's
So
only the
it's-
one,
And you never can find a parking
So
space over there anyhow.
I think we should keep it at 4 because then it becomes just a hassle for the residents to have to come over there. The whole point of this and the reason we were going to do it is because we had to put the time limit on, as we said, because otherwise that would be the first thing that would fill up with beachgoers or employees over on the other side of the intercoastal to go over there, and they would fill that up immediately, and the people who wanted to use the park wouldn't be able to do that. So I think 4 is reasonable. Because you figure by the time they walk and go over there to the other side of the island, they're not going to be able to work a full shift or even spend any time at the beach without having to run back. If you're
Listen.
feel free to have.
Can't have that.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. If you have a situation with the families there at the park, for them to have to keep track of the 2 hours for another 4 hours, I think is reasonable. You're not going to have the same problems that you're going to have in the other spots. I think 2 hours goes pretty quick.
But at this point, you're talking about the one on the consent agenda. I guess
Yeah,
we're
this
talking
one,
about both
Well,
the motion on this one should be to strike it. And
Let's
my
kill this
motion-
one. Let's kill this one, okay, and then go to the other.
If we need to make a motion on this, I'll make a motion to strike this.
Okay.
Second.
I have a motion and a second to strike public hearing.
Deny the ordinance.
Deny the
Sorry,
ordinance.
Motion to deny the ordinance.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, now we're at the consent agenda. Okay, is there anybody who wishes to speak on anything that's on the consent agenda? There's only 2 things here. Okay? All right,
And we got 4A.
come,
Yeah, you got 4.
and 4A.
Where's,
Well, if you can talk on this topic.
You can talk on whatever you want at this point. Your name and address, ma'am.
Yes, Peggy Ross, 103 Northeast 19th. I'm very familiar with the park because I live right across from it. I was one of the volunteers that worked on the mosaics on the splash pond, so I've been watching. If you look at your park, it is absolutely beautiful. It is gorgeous, but it is for very young children. The fact that somebody is going to come with a grade school child and probably spend 4 hours there, I think is a little, I'm very concerned that it's going to end up being beach parking, and, because 4 hours at the beach is a lot of time. I think it should be 2, maybe 3 hour parking. But if you don't get the turnover and the people who have the young kids can't come and use that beautiful equipment, they are not going to come back. Whether they pay $1 or it's free, I think this is an important decision. And I said, I think the splash pond, the little gyms and things that are around are all geared for very young children. And their attention span as an elementary school teacher from way back isn't that long. So I think if a parent is there 2 hours with their child, that could probably be a lot.
Thank you. Yes,
Rita Massey, 19th Avenue. I think the 2 hour limit is the way to go because I know all my friends that work at all the restaurants are going to hate me for this, but they're all going to park there because when they get their lunch hour, they'll go there, move the cars, whatever. This is for the children. This is for families. And unless you do 2 hours, it's going to be for everybody else.
Okay. Thank you. Your name and address for the record, Commissioner?
Ben Preston, 640 Southwest 14th Court, Deerfield Beach. I would ask the commission to really consider in this situation is let the moms and dads come to the park, enjoy the facility with no pay. Let them come and enjoy it. This is something that's a part of the city. Let them, and if it becomes an issue, it's something that you really need to address. But why would a person come and eventually have to worry about going to the meter and paying something and maybe getting a ticket or whatever? Let the people of Deerfield Beach go to the park and have a good time and not have to worry about anything. What's wrong with that? What's wrong with that?
There's no charge.
No, Bill, let me finish.
Okay, well, what we're talking about is that there could eventually be a charge, and I'm just saying that eliminating that completely.
Thank you. Anybody else wish to be heard? Didn't we just hear from you?
Katie, well, that was on the first one. That wasn't on this one. Katie Freitag, 418 Southeast 2nd Street. I agree with the 4 hour. I think 2 hour. Once you get a child there, get them out of the car seat, get the meter taken care of, get them into their swimsuit, get them into playing on the splash pad. They want to come off, they want to have a snack, they want to go back on again. You don't want to be limited to 2 hours. I don't think we're going to find many people who have to work a 4 to 6 hour shift over at the restaurants and hotels, parking there and running over there and knowing that if they're not back in 4 hours, their shift pay just went to a parking ticket. All of their shift pay just went to a parking ticket because they didn't get back in the 4 hour time frame, or 2 hour out the window. But 4 hour time frame, I think a 4 hour time frame is enough. It is going to make people not want to park there that are working because they don't know what time they're going to get off their shift. It's not worth it to them to get a parking ticket on top of it. So please make sure we try and keep with the 4 hours things.
Your name and address for the record, ma'am.
March Hilton, 1101 Southeast 5th Court. I think 4 hours is right. Okay, maybe there are little small children going to go there, but the parents are going there too for the enjoyment. So I don't think it really has to do with just the small children. I think it has to do with the mother, the father, and the family. But 4 hours to me is good.
Yes, ma'am. Your name and address for the record.
Christina Fink, 739 Northwest 42nd Place. Just as a paddleboard and kayak enthusiast, 2 hours is not enough time. So I'm going to get there, get my paddleboard off, and then have to come all the way back. So just to use the facility, maybe to consider that. Thank you. 4 hours.
Anybody else wish to be heard? If not, I'm closing the public hearing on this particular item. Okay, now I'm opening it up to the commission.
No, you had the whole consent agenda.
Wait a minute. Pardon?
Okay, I'm sorry.
No. In other words, I think the commission wishes to speak on this particular item, if you would allow me. Okay? Okay, all the lights are on. Who the heck came first? Okay, Miller, I'll start with you.
I think some of the residents are confusing, and maybe our commission is confusing things. If we offer, for example, 2 hours free, and after that it costs $1 per hour, so if you stayed 4 hours and you had to pay $2, it doesn't mean you have to leave. You could stay 5 hours, you could stay 6 hours, but the first two are free, and the next were $1 per hour, $2, and 4 hours you paid a net $2. It's not like you have to leave. So you spend 4 hours, you pay $2, 50 cents an hour. I don't think that's going to prevent anybody from wanting to go to the park. I was for $1 an hour from the get-go to help pay for it and to help avoid having employees and such use as parking. If it's absolutely free, I promise you, the one of all of us that goes across that bridge every single day, I see the traffic, I see the employees, I see the bicycle riders, I see them all parking in the cove and going to the beach area.
Right.
And if we don't deter that, this is actually a more convenient parking space for people going to the beach. And if I think in terms of a compromise, I could go at 2 hours as a compromise free for residents with little children. But even if they want to spend more than 2, they're not precluded. The next hour, it costs them $1, and the next hour costs them $1. So if they were there 5 hours, they would pay $3. What's the big deal of having a park of that caliber at that location? It's certainly worth it. So my compromise would be, if you want to have some compromise, instead of $1 right from hour one, go with the 2 hour free, and then after that be $1 per hour as long as you stay.
I'm going to go this way, so Commissioner Battle, you're next up, okay?
Thank you. I was one of the ones initially who said that the park should be free. I am not veering from that, but I'm willing to compromise one way or the other. And for my esteemed colleagues on this dais, then 2 hours as opposed to 4 hours, and we're talking little children when we say 2 hours. But the young lady just said to us, this is our premier kayaking park. She's out there on her kayak or what's that, on the canoe or paddleboard or whatever, out on the ocean, in the water, and 3 hours come. What is she going to do, one way or the other? I think we need to think through this very carefully. 4 hours would seem to me, would be right, such that we can accommodate everybody. And I'm also when I first heard about that, we had this nice pavilion out there wherein parents are going to be holding birthday parties for little children. 2 hours is not going to get it. Thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor, I'm up to you. I'm going this way.
Yeah. I tend to think 2 hours to start free, with the additional 2 hours can be no charge as well. Are these meters going to be handled the same way as meters on the Cove, where they can be done electronically by phone if it runs over beyond the 2 hours, or is it going to have to be done?
I believe you mean the beach, and yes, it's the same system.
And so if that were the case, and somebody was kayaking and had their little smartphone with them in a waterproof case, they could read up the 2 hours and not drown. Well, it doesn't require money, it just requires you know, the license plate is going to be the identifier. But my feeling is that if 2 hours isn't enough, the following 2 hours should be available. But I don't know if I'd have, and the 4 hour maximum is they couldn't go beyond the 4 hours. They have to leave after 4 hours. They couldn't go and extend it beyond that time, because that's the maximum they can use at one particular time. Now, if they have to be there and there's an open meter, they can always move their car someplace else. That's not a point. But it should be a 4 hour maximum on that one meter to make the meters available to other people. So you can't stay there for 5, 6 hours. That's the whole idea of having the restricted time. But, you know, it's difficult to say, you know, is 2 hours enough? Is 3 hours enough? 4 hours? You know, I tend to think, as they say, with young children and birthday parties and such, it really as a quandary as to how to handle that. And my feeling is 2 hours with a renewable 2 hours. You know, kayakers may have to come in after 2 hours and re-up again, but, you know, be able to have 4 hours total time. That'd be my suggestion.
Commissioner Gantz, you're up.
Commissioner Miller, how long does it take you to get over the bridge?
Today, 15 minutes. It was crazy. No, occasionally it's broken, occasionally everything's backed up, but it takes 5 minutes, 10 minutes if it's open.
To get over the
waiting,
bridge, to get over to the beach area.
Yeah.
Okay. Commissioner Rosenzweig, Vice Mayor Rosenzweig brought up a good point. If this is allowed to be paid by phone, I'm going to park there. I'm going to go to the beach, just renew by my phone, and I have free parking for the beach. We're defeating ourselves, and what the whole intent of this was, is to make it that there has to be, and I hate to use this term, but it's the truth. You have to use an inconvenience of having to go back there and reset that meter in person there. Otherwise, you can remotely do it, and you're going to have a problem, because I'm going to park there. I'm going to go ahead, my 4 hours are up, I'm going to renew. There's no charge for it. I'll just renew, and I'll stay on the beach, or I'll stay at my job on the beach. We're defeating ourselves in doing that. The whole point of this is to make sure that people are physically there utilizing that park, and they're not abusing it for the, and we're sure that's going to happen. This park is not just for children. This park is also for fishermen. This park is also for kayakers, paddle boarders. So there are a wide variety of uses that's going to be for. So you don't want the time to be too ridiculously short, which by the time you even get settled, you're having to run back and redo the meter. But you also don't want it so people can abuse it. You're not going to find a perfect situation. Someone's going to find a way to figure their way around it. But we keep talking 2 hours or 4 hours. Did we split the difference and go with 3 hours? We could talk about that. But I mean, the bottom line is this should not be allowed to be renewed by phone. If you do that, we're just defeating ourselves. So that would be a big consideration that I think we should think about. And even if you do $1 an hour, that's the cheapest beach parking you'll find. So I'm still going to go there, and I'm going to park there, and for 4 hours I get $2, and that's good. So it defeats the purpose. It shouldn't be about the dollar amount, because that's going to add the complexity to it. It really should be you have to physically be there, and it's a 3 or 4 hour limit to do that. So that would be my recommendation.
Okay, Vice Mayor, your light's back on.
Yeah, I'm just saying that the 4 hours is maximum. Once you renew it after 2 hours, you have 2 more hours, and that's all you have. After that, your maximum time is up, and you either get ticketed or you leave. It doesn't matter, they can extend it beyond the 4 hour maximum time limit. That's what you're agreeing to. And get around it, yes, they can. If they're empty meters, they can move their car to another meter and start over again. I agree with that. But I don't know how you get around that either, unless you find some way to boot the car, keep it from moving, and make sure if they leave that meter, they can't go to another meter in the area. But that's the only way you can handle it.
I'd get Miller first.
At least I feel that way, that the 4 hour maximum period, 2 and 2, and max.
Commissioner, the city manager wanted to add something to that, I think.
Yes, if I could, just quickly, Vice Mayor Rosenzweig. Actually, the way it would work is within a 24-hour period.
Right.
It's pay by plate.
Right.
So it's tied to your license plate.
Correct.
So once you go to that 4 hour maximum for that 24-hour period. You can't go back there for that day. Then the next day, it
That
starts
slot
from
or the
zero.
whole park?
Okay.
The whole park there.
Okay.
So,
Very good.
yes.
Thank you, Steve.
Okay.
Commissioner Miller, you're up again.
Yeah, okay. There's basically two issues. One issue is we want turnover in the park, not to somebody hog a space for all day long, 12 hours that it's open. That's one issue. The second issue, be metered or not metered. The compromise came from, I was for $1 day, 1 hour, first hour you get there, start $1. Others said 4 hours should be free. So that's, all right, the compromise from first hour paying to 4 is 2. That's where we came out with the 2 hour. But it occurs to me, if we did the compromise we just described, 2 hour free, one could go to the parking space, register your car, put in $2, and you've got 4 hours. Because we credited them 2
Well, it's
hours.
2 hours
So,
free.
but right off the bat, they put in the $2, and it literally, effectively cost them 50 cents an hour for their maximum limit of 4 hours. That's a compromise, but it gets them so they're not going to have to stop kayaking or something, or coming, oh my God, I'm late, I might get a $25 ticket. They got the 4 hours, they know the 4 hours, they put in the 2 hours right from the get-go, and they've got up to 4 hours for that 2 hours that they put in the meter. That seems wise to me. It turns over the park, it's really, very inexpensive, but it helps us maintain the park, that the whole acreage, prime acreage that we took off the tax rolls to serve the public. There should be some revenue, and I'm afraid that people will park there, preventing people with children or kayakers coming for the beach crowd. So there should be some. And the limit of 4 hours does curtail the full-time employees. That is one true fact. But the other thing is, so again, they have the credit. I would agree with the credit, since my neighbors wanted it free entirely. I wanted it to pay entirely. I think the compromise is give them 2 hours free, but let them pay for 4 hours. If they think they're going to be more than 2, put in $1 or 2 hours and be done with it. That's how we could have the compromise. It gives us a turnover and gives us some revenue.
Okay, my turn. You know, the only way you're going to solve this is if you meter this thing the same way you meter the beach, okay? And then you allow anybody with a beach parking sticker to park at those meters at no cost. That way, the people who have young children who have a beach parking sticker can go over to Sullivan Park and park with their sticker and not have to pay anything to park at a children's park. But we're not going to do that, because there is no way that anybody is going to use this park other than to use it as a way to get to the beach cheap. And that's what's going to happen. So, you know, in that case, I say, make it free for everybody. Just charge the boats that are using the slips and that kind of stuff, okay? But outside of that, instead of saying you can have 2 hours free, 4 hours free, let it be like every other park in the city. Let it be free. Just charge the boats that are parking there for 4 hours at $5 an hour, and let everybody else park there at no cost. I mean, let's face it, it's supposed to be a free park for young people. Let's see what happens. I don't know. I just don't think there's an easy answer to this question. We don't meter any other park in the city, so it just doesn't make sense to meter this park. It's not going to generate that much money at $1. I mean, let's face it. You know, if we could afford to spend $1.7 million to buy 3 pieces of property over at the beach, we can afford to give our residents a break when it comes to Sullivan Park. Okay, that's what I'm going to say. Okay, that's it. That's my family clapping. Okay, we're back to, I don't know, do you want to have, what do you guys want to do? You got the votes, I'm just sitting here.
Commissioner Gans, your light is on.
Vice Mayor, your light's back on.
Gans is first. He was here first.
Okay, Bill. I'm sorry, Commissioner Gans.
Mayor, I agree with you on the free parking, but the bottom line is if you don't put a time limit on there, that is nothing but a cheap way for people to go to the beach. So you have to put a time limit on there. So we're going to have to make a decision on what the time limit is. We have to do that.
Well, you
Okay.
could do that the same way you do in the code, where you allow only 2-hour parking and then you have to move or something. There's no meters at the cove.
Again, that ignores the issues that have been brought up about paddle boarding or any of those other types of issues. So my recommendation on this, and actually I'm going to make a motion and we'll see where it goes. Recommendation is to do a 4-hour time limit on there. We are going to turn off the ability to renew it by phone. Can we do that?
We can certainly check into doing that.
Okay, because
Well,
that's
first
key,
reading,
because if
just
you do
first
not,
reading.
if you do not do that, we're gonna have a problem. So you're gonna cut off the ability for it to be renewed by phone. You're gonna do a 4-hour time limit with no charge on it at all. But, I'm sorry?
No, I didn't say.
Oh, okay, no,
but
I-
I think what you need to know, though, Commissioner, is we should have the answer to that question about the telephone thing for the next reading, because this is only the first
Well,
reading.
I think we can have it. Dave's answering, yeah, we can do it. I was not sure, but I still think between the time the park opens, so if you go there on a Saturday, from the time the park opens till it closes at the end of that day, if your car license plate will be flagged, so you cannot go in there for 4 hours in the morning and come back at whatever time, 3 o'clock, and stay there for another 2 hours. We can enforce it that way.
I have a problem with that, and that's where as I was finishing my motion, I don't like the fact that you can only use that park for 4 hours a day, and then you've used up your amount of time to use it, and you're never allowed to come back for the rest of the day. Someone goes there in the morning, they want to be there for 4 hours, they take a few hours off, and they come back and they want to use it again, but they're not allowed to park there. Where do you think they're going to park? They're going to park in the cove. So, and especially if the lot's empty, it doesn't make a lot of sense to me. So, yes, it sounds convoluted and a little nuanced, but the bottom line is it has to be, because if you don't, you've got the cheapest beach parking in the city, and people are going to abuse it. You
That's
want
right.
people to be able to have access to do it, but you want to be reasonable. You do the 4-hour time limit. You make sure they cannot renew by phone, and they cannot remain in that same spot for more than 4 hours. So, or if you want to make it 3 hours, to make it to cut into so people aren't running back. That's what I was thinking about. Someone on their lunch hour. You're going to work an 8-hour shift. Are you really going to try to run back over across the bridge on your lunch hour to come over to redo the meter and then run all the way back over? I'm sure some people will do it, but the likelihood of that being prevalent, I think, is pretty small. I could be wrong, but there's no perfect solution for this. The 4-hour time limit seems to make sense for me. If you want to go to 3, that's fine, but they should have the ability to move your car into a different spot. Don't ban them from using that parking lot for the rest of the day. I have a little bit of a problem with that. I don't know if we're able to do that.
Well, yeah, we can control that.
Okay, so you can't use that same spot for longer than 3 or 4 hours, whatever you choose to be, and there's no charge for it. That's what my recommendation would be.
4 hours
And you
free.
cannot renew by phone.
Commissioner Battle, your light's on. You're giving me a headache, but go ahead.
Certainly, I don't want to give anybody a
No,
headache.
no,
but,
I didn't mean you.
But
This whole
I'm
conversation.
still holding out here for free, and I tell you
That's
why.
right. Me
Because
too.
I don't know the impact it will have on people coming from east of Federal Highway,
right.
especially those in District 2. So, and the fact, like the mayor said,
District
that
2 is west of Federal.
Hold it.
District 2 is west of Federal, right? And the fact that the mayor has, what she said about, let me get this thought clear here. There are no other parks
That we meter.
that we meter. None of them. And at times, I'd like to say at Oviedo McKeith, and we need meters over there to keep some of the people from parking. But parks, to me, are basically sacrosanct, because what you're telling is your community or your people is that there needs to be a space for you to play and grow and do all these other things that you do with the park. And and I don't even go to Quiet Waters because I have to pay that, $1 or whatever at those county parks or whatever the case may be. And there are a lot of people in my that have that same mindset. We don't go to those parks because it costs for us to go. And if parks are one of those things that we use for recreation and play, then I think that they ought to be free one way or the other. Thank you.
Okay, Vice Mayor, your light's on. I'm in favor of free. I mean, there's no way you're gonna be able to control it anyhow. You might as well let it be free.
Yeah.
And then you can go wherever the heck you want. Go ahead.
Look, it's heading that way. I tend to agree that the park basically should be free. The time limit is important, and I think, you know, if we do allow that to go, and after 3 hours, I would say they have to have a time before they come back into the park to use it again, so that they can't stay around the area, you know, just a short period of time and come back in again. We want this to be a turnover to get more people to use it. And we haven't addressed the issue of the docking fee for the residents. Is that something that we can talk about? I mean, is that $5 an hour should be for the residents as well as everybody else?
It's $5 an hour for a 4-hour maximum for a boat. Okay.
How would you monitor that?
In a boat?
How would you monitor that to know whether the residents are not residents?
It's just a boat.
Well,
I
it
mean, that's
becomes
it.
an
It's
issue
the
if
boat that
you,
gets caught.
if you were
gets-
to do that. There's such things as and I don't know how to work it, but a sticker on the thing and by the car tag would be a way of doing that if you want to have it done that way. But no, that's another issue to be decided. But at this point, I just raised it as an issue because it was raised. Is there a way of doing it and to control it? But I think that, you know, making the park free and having time limits set for the amount of time you want to make free, and I'll have a requirement, you know, that they can't come back in for a set time limit to come back in for the second time during the day. So again, the tag would register that, you know, they can't park there.
So what have I got?
Can I?
Yes,
can I-
Commissioner Miller, tell me something.
Well, there are
Anything.
two distinct things we're concerned about. We're looking for turnover of the spots. We're looking for people that go to the beach that don't tie up a spot in the park, so people are prevented from using the park. So I think one goal is to have this 4-hour or 3-hour maximum amount of space without charge. But I don't know if I understood, Mr. Gantz, Commissioner Gantz, if it's was your idea 3 or 4 hours, but if it was longer that they would pay whatever was their rate? Was it if they stayed 5, or would they have to leave? You have a maximum of 3 or 4, and then you're penalized with a ticket of $25? Is that the thought?
You have to leave the space. So, in other words, if they stay there, because look, if someone can stay there and just run over and renew, if you're going to put a 4-hour time limit on it, they have to leave that space. They can't register for that space again. If they slide over to the next space, should it be open? They're utilizing the park. I'm not looking to charge at all for the parking over there. I don't want to do that.
So it's
Well, let's not
really
do
the system would be just to create turnover and maybe not long-term
trying to
employees and such
Yes,
parking
you're
of the
trying
beach.
to prevent abuse of using that as best you can. You're going to try to prevent abuse of people utilizing that for beach parking. That's
Okay, so
the
that's
whole
a-
key.
that's a separate-
Whatever's going to
They're
create
never gonna get
turnover,
a decision.
whatever's going to create turnover, that's what we need to do.
And this could certainly be changed by a commission in the future, right? But at least we'd have the system in place that could be modified one way or another if we see things are not working,
Yes.
right? Whether it became we wanted to meter it all the time or not meter it or have different times, but we'd have the system in place. At first, the whole idea is to create turnover, and our compromise would be 3 hours, 4 hours, or like
Judging
that.
by the way this conversation's going, no matter what we put in place, I have a feeling there's going to be some modifications probably along the way, because we're going to realize what type of draw we have there, what type of demand it is, and how it's being used or abused. So, but we need to come up with something now. We need to try to do the best we can to minimize the abuse and using it for beach parking.
Wait, the city manager wants to add. Go ahead.
I'll wait till they're done.
No,
discussing.
please.
Okay.
Don't.
Just the way the system works, we would have to check on how we would do the space allocation, because the reason why we chose the parking system, the automated pay-by-plate system, is that nothing ever is assigned to a space. And that was a problem we had with the meters on the beach.
That's right.
Because if somebody pulled up and put in $5 and they only spent $1, somebody else pull in there and they'd be able to
But with
get
the other
that.
thing, you can go
So
away and come back.
I'd have to get back to you to figure out how we would logistically do this, the assignment of the space with that plate, so we could look at what you're requesting to do, Commissioner Gans.
Dan.
So, not saying it's not impossible, I can't give you an answer on that, but that
David.
is an issue.
David, when you go to the beach and you put your tag in there, okay, for 4 hours, you can leave that space, go have a drink, go do something else, and go back to that, and go back utilizing that same amount of space that you have already allocated. Isn't that so? In other words, you can go back. David, talk.
The parking system creates zones, okay? So Sullivan Park could be looked at as a zone. And so the LPR, license plate recognition software system, is going to go around Sullivan Park and ID that license plate and say he has either complied with whatever requirement is decided upon or he hasn't. It's not going to recognize the individual space that the actual vehicle is in.
Is parked in.
Dave, could you do something where someone would have to come in and renew their 4-hour, it's not making them move their car, but at the end of 4 hours, they're in violation. But they could come back and re-enter their... No?
Yes, we can make it so we can make it
so they would have to come back and deal with the
We can make
meter.
it so that they cannot use the pay-by-phone application in that particular zone, and they would physically have to go back to the meter at Sullivan Park, wherever they are, and re-register for another allotted amount of time.
They didn't have to move the car, but they'd have to go through the trouble if they're on the beach, come from the beach, and go to that lot.
Correct.
Okay, so what is it you want to do?
Well, just for clarification,
Yes.
they couldn't leave their car and drive out and then drive back and go into that spot may be taken by somebody else. And they wouldn't be allowed to come back in and park again because we want to give them for a time limit. And if they leave before their time limit is up, they can't come back and reuse what time isn't there because they've left the park.
So are we in agreement that we're going to give them 4 hours free parking?
That's
Please?
the way it sounds to me.
You're losing the crowd here.
What?
Mr. Gantz, may I speak to Ms. Gantz?
Commissioner Miller, let somebody
I
give me a
think we're
motion.
winding down. I think we're winding down. I was the one who wanted meters from the hour one, and I'm hearing the rest of my fellow commissioners. I think we've settled on, we want to have the system in place, at the very least, to have turnover in the parking lot, so nobody hogs up the spaces to prevent park goers from going into the park. I mean, that seems to be a consensus. That's not where I started, but that seems to be where we're at. Commissioner Gantz, do I read you correctly? And we want to prevent the doing it by phone, so you're doing it remotely. You'd have to, and it sounds to me the number I heard the most was 4 hours. I was looking for 2 or 3, but 4 hours. But put the system in. When people park there, they have to register. It's not going to register spot number 2. It's just you're in that parking lot. And give them 4 hours, and they'd have to physically come back and re-register in 4 hours, or else they're done. At one point, it was talked, you only have 4 hours exclusively.
You only get 4 hours free.
So if that seems to be the consensus that I hear, Mr. Gantz, maybe you want to make a motion with just monitoring for time with the 4 hours, and I think you'd have consensus.
If I'm not mistaken, for clarification, sorry, Mayor, for clarification, once they register their car, it's by plate.
Yes.
And they're registered for that spot they're in with their plate.
No, that parking lot, not their spot.
I'm sorry.
That's the difference. It's not by spot.
It should be by spot.
It's not.
No, it isn't by spot on the beach either, is it?
Yes.
No, it isn't.
When you register, when you
move
park at
around.
the beach, and you put your plate in there for that
You
spot.
can move around. You don't get the spot. It's not the
Spots
spot.
are not numbered.
Identified?
It's not like I'm in number 3 for 4 hours.
You can go anywhere you want. Why don't we just give them 4 hours free and forget the rest of this stuff, okay?
Because we want to have the turnover.
Okay. Is that a motion?
Well,
if I could, so if I just overheard the conversation correctly, you can put an hour, you can make it where they have to be, so in other words, you come there in the morning for 4 hours, that's your max, you leave. You come back, let's say at 2 o'clock, and you want to enjoy the park. You're able to do that because the requirement would be it can only be 4 hours, and then there's an hour block in between. You cannot come back in the park or extend beyond the 4 hours.
That's right. Original.
Until an
the
hour
original.
passes, and then you're allowed to come back later that
So we're
day.
going to have to put that in the ordinance, so that it's a 4-hour block
That's right, and you cannot renew or get any more time after the 4 free hours. You can go away and come back and then in 1 hour or 2 hours and then register again.
Correct.
But you can't get any more time on the original 4-hour
So
free
we're free,
thing.
but you have to move your car in 4 hours. And you
In
can't
other
come back
words, you
for
can
another
go
hour.
away
Yes.
after
Why don't you
4
make the
hours.
motion? Make
Correct.
the motion.
So
That's
that
what I'm
would
trying.
be, that would be approving item number 4 with that amendment.
Please.
Yes, and to include the boat parking as is. There's not enough space to be able to accommodate the residential parking sticker to do that.
No.
There are limited slips there, so
Okay.
let's keep it the way it is.
Okay, let's give them 4 free hours, and that's all you get. And then if you want more than that, you got to leave and come back in the next hour or so. But you cannot increase the 4-hour limit that you got originally, correct?
So this would be a motion to approve 3 and 4A exactly as they are in the consent agenda, and approve 4, which is what you've just been talking about with the modifications as indicated.
Could I have a motion to that effect?
Including the phone not being able to renew by phone. Yes, correct.
And I'll
That's the
second that motion.
I have a motion and a second. Call the roll. Because I don't trust
Commissioner-
anybody.
Commissioner Battle?
Yes.
Commissioner Gantz?
Yes.
Commissioner Miller?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Rosenzweig?
Yes.
Mayor Robb?
Yes.
Well, that was easy.
Okay. Comments by the city manager?
I have none, thank you.
Okay. Comments by the city attorney? You just left. Go to the bathroom. Okay, I have 3 things. First of all, I understand there's a semi-pro football team for 18 and older that's playing on West Side Park every week. Now, where did they come from and who approved them? I mean, when you tell me we don't have one field we can give to the Packer Rattlers, and then you have another semi-pro team from Del Rey that's been in Del Rey for 13 years utilizing our football field, I want to know who made that decision. Where did that come from?
Yes.
Yes.
Mayor Robb, they are a private organization. They are paying the normal rental fees. There is no one using the fields. When the Packer Rattlers requested to use the fields, they were being used during football season. This is for practice during this month. There is nothing going on this month. And I believe it's at the Deerfield Beach Middle School, not at Avita McKeithen.
Oh, well.
However, I do have Mr. Reckley here, and I'll have him come up and give you more detail about it. Mr. Reckley?
Mr. Reckley, who went to Boston College. So what happened?
Good evening, Mayor, Commission, City Manager. The group that came out, it's a regular rental, just as we would rent to any, user group that would come out to use facilities. The reason that we could not provide rentals during the youth football season is we already have a group that's utilizing the field. Just as right now, we have Little League Baseball getting ready to start. Like, we wouldn't rent to a group to produce baseball during Little League season. That's a conflict. But the group, they are practicing at the middle school. It was twice a week. Now I believe they're going down to one time a week. They've had one game, and it's on a reservation by reservation process, just like any other rental that we have.
Thank you. Okay. We are going to have the dedication of Sullivan Park. I think it's on February the 20th.
Yeah.
February
25th.
the 24th.
That's a Friday night, the 24th, and
The 24th.
For VIPs and
I'm not going to
Saturday
be able to attend that because it conflicts with something that I'm doing with my head, at any rate. So what I'm going to suggest is this. I have been contacted by Jen Sullivan. Now, you know who Jen Sullivan is, and you know who Jen Sullivan is. She was the matriarch of the Sullivan family. She was married to one of the brothers who built the very first house in the Cove, okay? She has given me her phone number, which I am giving to Chris. I would like her to be notified. She will gather all of the Sullivans who now live in Deerfield Beach so they can be there for the dedication of Sullivan Park. because without them, we would never have gotten it would never have been donated. The other problem that I have is Sullivan Park came about during the tenure of the former mayor, Peggy Nolan, not me, her. So I would like her to be invited also to the ribbon cutting for Sullivan Park. Well, whatever the date is. What's the date? I thought it was the 24th.
25th.
It's Saturday, the 25th. Well, see, I'm having. It's a Saturday. And what time? What time, somebody?
9 a.m.
9 a.m. 9 a.m. on a Saturday morning.
For the public, it's at noon, I think.
I don't know. Did I see something about it was by invitation only?
That's 9 o'clock.
Well, whatever. All I know is that Jen Sullivan has moved to Georgia, but she is now in Deerfield Beach. I have her phone number. I'm giving it. She will collect all of the Sullivans so they can be there for the dedication of the park, which I think is in order since you wouldn't have it without them. Let's be realistic, okay? That's it. I'm done. Okay. Miller, you. Anything?
Nothing tonight.
Good.
Way to go, Joe.
I forgot to say something. You know, you read in the paper all the time about the 85-year-old mayor. Well, tomorrow I will be 85. No.
Birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear mayor. Happy birthday to you.
Thank you. Gloria, go.
Very quickly. Normally I don't wear red. I'm wearing it for a reason. This is Heart Month. Please take care of yourselves. Go get those hearts checked out one way or the other. I had a scare, and you need to do that. So please observe this month one way or the other. I want to say thank you to the chief and Mrs. Stallings and those. Where's code enforcement? We would not have known that one of our neighbors was living in such squalor had not code enforcement gone out and brought it to our attention. And at that point, I contacted BSO, and like the troopers that they are, they jumped in and got some assistance from people from wherever. I thank you, but let me say this to you, the next time you clean out, especially this particular resident's house, please take the dumpster, because he dumpster dived and got most of the stuff out when you all left. Okay? Thank you.
Oh, disgusting. Vice Mayor.
Yeah, I wouldn't want to be around there either. A few things. Still in the southern part of our district, in Crystal Lake area, we're having problems with speeding from Green Road and Wiles Road through a lot of Crystal Lake, and I still wonder, we need better speed bumps than what we have. I've spoken with Tom Good in the office to make sure we raise size and get more in there. And also, I still wonder if we can't regulate the times of traffic going through Crystal Lake using that shortcut where they can't go in at certain hours in rush hour and back in rush hour to keep them off those streets, and using for a shortcut, which is creating a lot of problems in there. I was talking with Joy Sullivan. Actually, her name isn't Sullivan, but Joy, who works for Dr. Leachy in the plaza, and I believe there's 10 Sullivans coming on Saturday for that event.
Yes, Robert, Tim, a whole bunch of them.
Yeah,
Okay.
and Genevieve may be her mother. I'm not sure.
Well, Jen's going to gather them all together so that they know, and I
Yeah.
gave the
Yes.
city manager her cell
Yeah.
phone.
Yes.
And I gave that to Chris so they could get in touch with her.
Absolutely.
Because let's face it, without them, we wouldn't have Sullivan
Yeah,
Park.
and I didn't know that Joy worked for my eye doctor until I went in there and talked to her, and to
Okay.
find out she was a family member.
Is that it? Oh,
The
go
other
ahead,
thing
I'm
is,
sorry.
too, I still have an issue with electronic cigarettes. More and more of these things are found to be very harmful to the health of everybody that uses them, carcinogenic, as well as some of them are starting to explode because of the batteries in them and causing a lot of injuries. So somehow these vape shops have to be watched and monitored to make sure that the stuff that we're putting out to the public, and especially children, using them to imbibe some of the stuff coming from China, and it raises the issue of fentanyl, which is becoming a major hazard in this community and in the city. In fact, even our congressional delegation in Washington is raising issue with EPA to make sure that this drug now is replacing flakka as far as the number one health hazard drug-wise in our society. Miami's had a lot of issue with it, and it's spreading into our area. So I'm raising out and praising our congressional delegation for getting on top of this from the get-go. We just passed a major sign ordinance in our city, and it had a big impact on one vendor. And I'm just wondering if, in the future, we may look at this ordinance to have a waiver for a short period of time, especially for those vendors that only have a short season of selling, like tax vendors only have like a 3-month period, and I don't know if we can get a special permission for them to survive. Many of them, that's their whole business season is at 3 months, and they need some way to get public awareness that they're out there in business in our city. I hate to lose a business because we can't help them in that closed season, so just food for thought. That's all I have. Thank you.
Commissioner Gann?
On, let's see, February 16th, on Thursday, there's going to be a Pioneer Days cocktails at the Butler House from 5 o'clock to 9 o'clock. It's open to the public, is that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Oh, it's $10. So open to the public, but cost you $10.
What are you serving?
Come there. On February 21st, February 21st, I'll have a District 4 meeting at Constitution Park at 7 p.m., and that's all I have.
Motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Second. For small favors.